اليوم نقف موقف مشرف مع جبهة الجمهورية الإسلامية التي تحمل راية الإسلام في هذا الزمان.
मजलूम मुसलमानों का कत्लेआम हो रहा है, बेगुनाह लोगों का खून बहाया जा रहा है.
I want to laugh, I want to dance, but above all, I just want to celebrate. I just want to celebrate collectively with my community. It is very rare for us in the diaspora to have something this big to celebrate collectively and have it as a collective experience.
On the 28th of February, the United States and Israel launched a massive military strike dubbed Operation Epic Fury, targeting key Iranian military bases. This came just days after US President Donald Trump gave Tehran 10 days to finalize the nuclear deal and warned that bad things would happen if Iran failed to comply with Washington's demands. Trump did keep his word, and bad things did happen to Iran. Joint US-Israeli attacks on Iran have assassinated Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the country's supreme leader for nearly 4 decades. It has thrust the country into uncertainty, sparking a conflict that could draw in much of West Asia. Donald Trump announced Khamenei's death, and Iranian authorities later confirmed it.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead.
The US president said the bombing will continue uninterrupted throughout the week, or as long as necessary to achieve our objective of peace throughout the Middle East and indeed the world. Iran has responded with an unprecedented wave of strikes across West Asia, targeting several countries that host US military bases, including Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. So why did the US attack Iran in joint strike with Israel? What is the goal behind the Operation Epic Fury? Who was Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the cleric who reshaped Islamic Iran? How has Iran responded? And how has Iran experienced decades of upheaval marked by wars and political shifts? All these and more on WION WideAngle this week.
I guess they are afraid now, because they saw us. They expected the people to crumble instead of standing strong and avoiding disappointment. But that's not the case. Our people will continue strong until the moment Trump takes his last breath, and we're longing for that moment.
Just fully punish the evil regime of Israel and the United States. Just take revenge. We know that nothing will appease us, but the least is that Trump, Netanyahu, the leaders of the imperial regime, God willing, will be destroyed as soon as possible.
On the 1st of March, supporters of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei gathered in Tehran's Enqilab Square and other major locations to hold a candlelight vigil, following state media's confirmation of Khamenei's death in US-Israeli airstrikes. Footage from the capital shows mourners chanting slogans, weeping and calling for national unity, while warning of revenge against aggressors. The death of Khamenei has unleashed one of the most dramatic waves of public emotion in decades, with families, religious leaders and loyalists coming together to honor him. It all began on the 28th of February, when Israel and the US began striking key targets across Iran. Trump urged the Iranian citizens to take over the government once the military campaign comes to an end.
The hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Israeli and American intelligence agencies, including the Central Intelligence Agency, tracked Khamenei's movements for months. Waiting for the right moment to strike, they decided to execute the operation when top Iranian officials, including Khamenei, had planned to meet at separate sites in Tehran. in a Tehran compound that is home to the offices of the Ayatollah, the Iranian presidency, and the national security apparatus. Look at the satellite image. It shows damage to what is believed to be a compound belonging to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Dubbed as Operation Epic Fury, the multi-day strike commenced at around 10 a.m. local time with a salvo of ship-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles and air-launched munitions from U.S. Air Force and Navy jets. Trump said the aim of the operation is to ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon.
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
The massive military operation came after weeks of threats from Trump that he would order military action if Iran did not agree to a new deal over its nuclear program. The president repeated his disputed claims that Iran is building ballistic missiles that could reach the U.S. mainland. Reportedly, an unclassified assessment from the Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, from 2025, Iran could develop a militarily viable intercontinental ballistic missile by 2035, should Tehran decide to pursue the capability. Meanwhile, Iran has repeatedly said its nuclear activities are peaceful. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has long viewed Iran as his country's most dangerous enemy. After the fall of the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad, a key Iranian ally, Israel launched a war against Iran in 2025. Although Israel halted the conflict after the US struck Iran's nuclear sites, analysts had long suspected that Netanyahu would take an opportunity to resume attacks on Iran. Netanyahu has repeatedly said that the Islamic regime must not be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon. The Israeli military suggested the attack was revenge for the Hamas attacks of October 7, 2023, saying Israel will not forget Iran's sponsorship of the Palestinian group. In a video statement released shortly after the attack on Iran started, Netanyahu said that the joint campaign, called in Israel Operation Roaring Lion, was meant to remove the threat to both Israel and the US posed by the regime in Tehran.
This is your chance to establish a new and free Iran. Take your fate into your own hands. Raise your head, lift your eyes to the sky. Our forces are there. Pilots of the free world. Everyone is coming to your aid. Help has arrived. And I believe the day is near when Israel and free Iran will hold hands in favor of security and peace, in favor of progress and prosperity.
As the US military began major combat operations in Iran, United States confirmed that various Iranian missiles had targeted several cities across West Asia. Tehran hit back with missile and drone attacks across the region, targeting Israel and the US military assets in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Iraq and Kuwait. Let's break down numbers for Iran's military strength. According to the Global Firepower Review, Iran is ranked 16th of 145 when it comes to military strength. It has at least 580,000 active duty personnel and about 200,000 trained reserve personnel, who are divided among the traditional army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Heavy trails of smoke were seen blowing from the Jebel Ali port in Dubai following the missile interceptions as Iran carried out counterstrikes across the Gulf. Explosions were heard in Abu Dhabi, as well as in Qatar's capital, Doha. As of 1st of March, the Defense Ministry of the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, said it had so far dealt with 165 incoming ballistic missiles, 2 cruise missiles, and 541 Iranian drones. The Gulf country of Qatar was not spared, as they said that Iranian missiles had hit 2 energy-related sites in the country. While Qatar initially used their defense system to intercept the missiles and drones in its airspace, the Ministry of Defense said that it will now be deploying fighter planes to shoot them down over the waters of the Gulf. Several parts of Kuwait have also borne the effects of Iranian missile and drone attacks. Bahrain's government confirmed that a missile had targeted a maritime facility near the Mina Salman port in the capital city of Manama. It was reported on the 2nd of March that Iranian drones hit Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery, while Kuwait also said that it intercepted attacks on day 3 of Iran's retaliatory strikes. All these nations, long-term American allies, came under Iranian attack. International shipping through the Strait of Hormuz has been disrupted, with analysts warning that a prolonged conflict could push energy prices even higher.
The enemies who thought that with his martyrdom this tree will fall, they will see it will grow fuller and stronger than before. Shia grows with blood, it grows from the blood if it's martyrs, and step by step it goes forward.
For nearly half a century, the US and Iran have circled each other through proxy wars, sanctions and clashes, but never tipping into open conflict. That balance has now collapsed. Iran and Israel have been enemies for the past few decades, with Iran saying it wants to wipe Israel off the map and threatening to annihilate it. Israel, for its part, regards Iran as its biggest opponent. But this wasn't always the case. The two nations, now locked in open war, were once close allies until Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. Israel has also consistently described Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat, framing the recent action as part of that broader security calculus. From a hostage crisis, year-long wars, to a nuclear dispute, Iran's struggles remain pivotal to its identity. Let's take a look at Iran's history of strikes since 1979. Relations between Tehran and Washington began to deteriorate in 1979. Iranians, under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, resisted the overreach of Western influence on their business. Revolutionary protests began rocking the country in late 1978 and forced the Shah to flee in January 1979. Exiled Islamic scholar Ayatollah Ali Khamenei returned to rule the new Islamic Republic. The then US President Jimmy Carter allowed Pahlavi to come to New York for cancer treatment. This angered Iranians and they retaliated. On the 4th of November 1979, Iranian students broke into the US Embassy in Tehran and took 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. This pivotal moment is also captured in Oscar-winning 2012 film Argo. Washington cut off diplomatic ties and imposed sanctions on the country, as Ayatollah Ali Khamenei became the first supreme leader of the country, ending decades of monarchy and reshaping Iran's political order. The Shah died in exile in Egypt in 1980. In September 1980, Iraqi armed forces invaded western Iran along the country's joint border. Following Iraq's invasion of Iran under Saddam Hussein, who was eager to push back against Khomeini's ideology, the US sided with Iraq, deepening tensions between the two nations. The war lasted until 1988 and saw thousands die on both sides. According to the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, Iraq also used chemical weapons on Iran. After 8 years of conflict, both countries accepted a ceasefire deal brokered by the United Nations, which became effective in August 1988. Then US President Ronald Reagan officially designated Iran as a state sponsor of terror after a series of attacks in Lebanon, where the US had been drawn in after Israel invaded the country. In one attack on a military base in Beirut, 241 US service members were killed. The US blamed Iran-backed Hezbollah. Reportedly, despite an embargo on selling weapons to Iran, Reagan approved a high-profit sale in hopes that it would yield the return of Americans held hostage in Lebanon by Hezbollah. Between 1987 and 1988, America and Iran came to blows several times in the Gulf during Operation Earnest Will, in which the U.S. Navy sought to protect tankers from Iranian attacks during the Iran-Iraq War. Amid war tensions and even direct attacks on each other's military warships in the Gulf, a U.S. naval ship breached Iranian waters and fired at the civilian Iran Air Flight IR-655 in 1988. All 290 people on board were killed. Though the U.S. claimed that the attack was a mistake, Iranians saw it as intentional. In 1989, Ali Khamenei succeeded Khomeini as the supreme leader of Iran. Khamenei was in the position for nearly 37 years until he breathed his last in 2026. Following the 9/11 attacks on the U.S., the then U.S. President George W. Bush, in a State of the Union address, said Iran was a part of an axis of evil alongside Iraq and North Korea, accusing them of supporting terrorism and seeking weapons of mass destruction. Despite this label, Iran had been working with the U.S. behind the scenes to target their mutual foes, the Taliban in Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda. The cooperation was sourced, and by the end of 2022, observers noted highly enriched uranium in Iran, inviting more sanctions. In April 2019, Washington formally designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps as a terrorist organization. Between 2013 and 2015, then US President Barack Obama began high-level talks with Iran. In 2015, Iran signed a landmark nuclear agreement in Vienna with 6 major powers: China, France, Germany, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, agreeing to curb its nuclear activities in return for sanctions relief. The accord received backing from the United Nations. In 2018, under US President Donald Trump's first term, the US withdrew from the deal and renewed sanctions aimed at decimating Iran's economy and oil revenue. Iran subsequently reduced its compliance with the agreement. Efforts to restore the pact failed. UN sanctions were reimposed in 2025, but the agreement expired later in October last year. After the US imposed several rounds of sanctions on Iran, Tehran announced it would ramp up enrichment of low-grade uranium. This broke the stockpile limit it agreed to in 2015 and brought the country one step closer to being able to build a nuclear bomb. In January 2020, a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad killed Major General Qasem Soleimani, commander of Iran's elite Quds force and widely regarded as one of the country's most powerful figures after Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Thousands of people flooded the streets of Iran to mourn him. Iran was furious and fired missiles at Iraqi bases that housed American troops. No lives were lost, but Trump responded by promising more sanctions. As tension ran high, Iran mistakenly shot down a Ukrainian passenger jet, attributing it to a fear of U.S. aggression. All 176 people on board were killed. In 2023, Hamas and its allies launched a shocking attack against Israel, killing more than 1,200 people and taking 251 hostages. Israel fought with Hamas in retaliation for the October 7 killings. Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen attacked ships in the Red Sea. The conflict expanded when Israel attacked Iran-backed Hezbollah, detonating explosives hidden inside handheld devices. In 2024, Iran launched a direct attack on Israel for the first time, firing hundreds of missiles and drones in retaliation for what it said was an Israeli attack on its embassy in Damascus, Syria. The US and other allies helped Israel defend itself against the barrage, shooting down most of the missiles. Iran launched another direct missile attack on Israel after Israel attacked Iran. The US again assisted Israel in shooting down most of the missiles. In June 2025, Israel launched a major attack against Iran, killing top leaders and damaging nuclear facilities. Iran countered with missile attacks. The US initially distanced itself from the attack, but Trump began voicing his support for Israel. In the early hours of June 22, 2025, the US escalated its involvement, bombing 3 nuclear sites, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. In what Pentagon officials described as causing severe damage to Iran's nuclear capabilities, Tehran vowed retaliation. And in 2026, the US and Israel launched attacks on Iran, starting on February 28th. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is assassinated along with other senior officials. Iran retaliated with attacks at US military bases in West Asia. For now, the attacks are expected to continue.
We projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
A day after Trump said the war could last weeks or longer, the Pentagon stated that 6 US service members have been killed in Iran's retaliations. Will the United States opt for a ground operation in the coming days? Trump has officially not ruled that possibility out. With instability severely impacting areas far beyond Iran's borders, West Asia stands at a dangerous crossroads.